Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Who's in your circle? Who do you spend your time with? Because whether you realize it or not, the people in your life are either fueling your fire or pouring water on your dreams. Some of you are working hard, grinding every day, trying to make something of yourself, but you feel stuck, you feel drained, you feel like no matter how hard you push, something or someone keeps holding you back. You ever share your dreams with someone and the first thing they do is tell you why it won't work, why it's too hard, why you should be realistic? These are the people who don't see possibilities, only limitation. They're the ones who project their own fears onto you. Maybe they gave up on their dreams, so they can't stand to see you chase yours. Maybe they never had the courage to try, so they don't want you to succeed either. You tell them you want to start a business, they laugh. You say you're going back to school, they roll their eyes. You mention a big goal, and they hit you with a list of reasons why it's impossible. And here's the dangerous part. If you listen to them long enough, you might start believing them. But let me tell you something. Every person who ever did something great had people telling them they couldn't. When the Wright brothers said they wanted to fly, people called them crazy. When Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television, she didn't listen. When Michael Jordan was cut from his high school team, he could have given up, but he didn't. You see, the only difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent, money, or luck. It's belief. So if someone is constantly doubting you, constantly dismissing your dreams, constantly trying to keep you small, you don't need them in your life. Because if you want to fly, you can't let people who are afraid of heights keep you on the ground. You ever have a conversation with someone and by the time you're done, you feel exhausted, like they just drain the life out of you? These are the people who take and take, but never give. They come to you with their problems, their drama, their negativity, but never with a solution, never with encouragement, never with anything that lifts you up. Every time you're around them, it's the same story, complaining about their job, their relationships, their life, but never doing anything to change it. And what happens? Their energy pulls you down. You start feeling tired, unmotivated, even stressed, just from being around them. Now, here's the truth. Energy is contagious. Spend enough time around someone who is always negative and that negativity starts rubbing off on you. Spend enough time around someone who always sees the worst, and suddenly you start doubting your own dreams, your own progress. But the opposite is also true. You ever meet someone who just lights up a room? Someone who makes you feel inspired, motivated, like you can take on the world? That's the kind of energy you need in your life. You need people who pour into you, not just take from you. You need people who challenge you to grow, who push you toward your best self, because life is already tough enough. The journey to success is already filled with obstacles. The last thing you need is someone weighing you down when you should be rising up. You ever notice how some people always seem to have something to say about everyone else's life? They sit around talking about who failed, who messed up, who did what, but never about their own goals, their own growth, their own future. These people thrive on gossip. They spread rumors, twist stories, and find joy in bringing others down. And if you think they won't do the same to you, think again. Because if they gossip with you, they will gossip about you. And here's the real danger. Gossip is a distraction. It keeps you focused on the wrong things. Instead of working on yourself, you get caught up in other people's drama. Instead of chasing your dreams, you waste time on meaningless conversations. But successful people, they don't waste their breath on gossip. They talk about ideas, opportunities, growth. They don't have time to tear others down because they're too busy building something. So ask yourself, are the people around you speaking life or are they spreading negativity? Are they encouraging you to grow, or are they pulling you into meaningless conversations about other people's failures? Because at the end of the day, the energy you allow in your life will shape your future. And if you want to go far, you need to cut out the noise and surround yourself with people who are focused on winning, not whispering. You ever meet someone who always has a reason why they can't do something? No matter what opportunity comes their way, they've got an excuse ready. It's always the wrong time, the wrong situation, the wrong conditions. They say, I would start that business, but I don't have the money. I would go back to school, but I'm too old. I would chase my dreams, but what if I fail? And if you're not careful, their excuses will become your excuses. See, excuses are contagious. When you surround yourself with people who always see the problem instead of the possibility, you start thinking the same way. You start hesitating, doubting, holding yourself back. Not because you can't do it, but because you've been conditioned to believe you can't. But the people who succeed in life, they don't make excuses, they make moves. They don't wait for the perfect time because they know the perfect time doesn't exist. They take what they have where they are and they make it work. So if you have people around you who are always making excuses, always justifying why they haven't done something, ask yourself, are they pushing me forward or are they holding me back? Because at some point you have to decide, do you want to be around people who find excuses or people who find a way? You ever notice how some people act like they're happy for you, but deep down something feels off? Maybe they smile when you share your wins, but there's no real excitement in their voice. Maybe they say congratulations, but their energy doesn't match their words. Or maybe when you start doing better, they suddenly get distant, cold, or even critical. These are the envious ones. They don't hate you, but they hate seeing you rise. Because every step you take forward reminds them of the steps they haven't taken. Your growth shines a light on their stagnation. Your success makes them uncomfortable because it forces them to face their own lack of progress. And here's the dangerous part. Envy is quiet sabotage. These people don't always show their jealousy outright. Instead, they'll make little comments. Don't get ahead of yourself. Are you sure that's a good idea? Not everyone makes it, you know. They'll disguise their doubt as concern. They'll downplay your achievements. They'll celebrate your failures more than your victories. And if you're not careful, their energy will start to seep into your mind. You'll start second-guessing yourself. You'll start dimming your own light just to make them feel comfortable. But listen, your success is not a threat to the right people. The people who truly care about you will celebrate you, push you, and be inspired by your growth. So pay attention to who claps when you win. Pay attention to who sticks around when you level up. And if someone in your circle is more comfortable when you're struggling than when you're succeeding, you don't need them in your life. You ever feel like no matter how much you grow, how much you accomplish, or how much you change, there are still people in your life who make you feel like you're not enough? Like no matter what you do, it's never quite right in their eyes? These are the people who constantly criticize, judge, and make you feel small. They never acknowledge your progress. They never give you real support. Instead, they focus on your flaws, your mistakes, the things you haven't done yet. And over time, if you keep them in your life, you start to believe them. You start questioning yourself. You start thinking, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't deserve success. Maybe I should just settle. But here's the truth. You don't need anyone's approval to be great. The only validation you need is your own. If someone in your life is constantly making you feel like you're not enough, it says more about them than it does about you. Because people who are secure, people who are confident, people who are truly successful, they don't tear others down, they lift them up. So stop seeking approval from people who will never give it to you. Stop waiting for someone to say, I'm proud of you, when they never will. Instead, be proud of yourself. Because at the end of the day, the people who truly belong in your life are the ones who see your greatness even before you do. You ever notice how some people only show up when they need something, when they're in trouble, when they're struggling, when they need a favor? They know exactly where to find you. But when you need support, when you need encouragement, when you need someone to lean on, suddenly they're too busy. Suddenly they disappear. These are the takers, the ones who see your kindness as something to use, not something to appreciate. The ones who expect you to always be there for them, but never offer the same in return. And at first you might not notice it because you're a giver. You want to help. You want to be there for the people you care about. But over time, you start to feel it. The exhaustion, the frustration, the realization that you're pouring into them, but they're never pouring back into you. And let me tell you, one-sided relationships are draining. They leave you empty. They leave you feeling unappreciated, unvalued, and taken for granted. Real relationships, real friendships, real connections aren't about what one person can get. They're about mutual support, mutual love, mutual respect. The right people in your life won't just take from you, they will give to you too. So if you find yourself constantly being drained, constantly giving without receiving, constantly being the one who carries the weight of a relationship, it's time to let go, because your energy, your time, and your heart are too valuable to be wasted on people who only know how to take. You ever meet someone who acts like they want the best for you, but every time you share an idea, a goal, or a plan, they hit you with doubt? They don't tell you outright that you'll fail, but their words are like small daggers cutting at your confidence. That's risky, are you sure? Most people don't make it in that field. I just don't want to see you get disappointed. At first, it sounds like they care. It sounds like they're just looking out for you, but if you listen closely, you'll realize that what they're really doing is planting seeds of fear. These people don't tell you that you can't succeed, but they make you question if you can, and that's dangerous because success starts in the mind. The moment you start doubting yourself, you've already lost half the battle. See, some people aren't negative because they hate you. They're negative because they don't believe in themselves. They've convinced themselves that big dreams don't come true, that life is about playing it safe, that settling is the only option. And when they see you trying to rise above that mindset, they get uncomfortable. Because if you succeed, it proves that they could have too. But listen, you don't need permission to chase your dreams. You don't need validation to go after what's in your heart. And you definitely don't need people around you who make you question your own greatness. So if someone in your life is always feeding you doubt instead of belief, always showing you the obstacles instead of the possibilities, always making you second guess instead of encouraging you to move forward, it's time to distance yourself, because the people around you should be pushing you forward, not holding you back. You ever notice how some people always play the victim? No matter what happens, it's never their fault. Life is always unfair. People are always against them, and they always have a story about how they got wronged. At first, you might feel bad for them. You might even try to help. You give them advice, offer solutions, maybe even go out of your way to support them. But then you realize they don't want solutions. They don't want to change. They just want to complain. See, victims love to stay stuck in their misery. They find comfort in their struggle because it gives them an excuse not to grow. If they're always the victim, they never have to take responsibility. They never have to look in the mirror and ask, what can I do differently? Instead, they blame the world, the system, their past, other people, everything except themselves. And here's the problem. If you surround yourself with people who think like this, their mindset starts to affect you. You start seeing problems instead of solutions. You start feeling powerless instead of in control. You start making excuses instead of taking action. But successful people, winners, leaders, they don't blame, they adapt. They don't waste time complaining. They find a way. So ask yourself, are the people around you pushing you to take ownership of your life, or are they keeping you stuck in a cycle of blame? Because if you want to succeed, if you want to grow, you can't afford to carry the weight of people who refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. You ever deal with someone who just doesn't respect your time, your boundaries, or your priorities? They show up unannounced, expect you to drop everything for them, and get upset when you say no. They think that just because you care, you're always available. At first, you might not mind. Maybe you think that's just how they are. Maybe you feel guilty setting boundaries. But over time, you start to notice something. They don't respect you because they don't have to. They've gotten used to you always saying yes. They've gotten used to taking from you without considering what you need. And here's the hard truth. People will treat you the way you allow them to. If you let someone waste your time, they'll keep wasting it. If you never say no, they'll keep asking. If you don't set boundaries, they'll keep crossing them. But here's the thing. Your time is valuable. Your energy is valuable. And if someone truly respects you, they won't push past your limits. They won't guilt trip you for taking care of yourself. They won't expect you to prioritize them over your own well-being. So if someone in your life constantly disregards your time, your needs, or your boundaries, it's time to make a choice. Either you teach them how to respect you, or you remove them from your space. Because the people who belong in your life will honor your boundaries, not try to break them. You ever meet someone who always sees themselves as better than you? No matter what you do, they always have to one-up you. If you share an accomplishment, they find a way to downplay it. If you express an idea, they act like they know more. If you're proud of something, they brush it off like it's nothing. These are the people who operate from ego, not support, They don't actually want to connect with you. They want to compete with you. They don't celebrate your wins because in their mind, your success somehow takes away from theirs. And let me tell you something. Real confidence doesn't need to compete. People who are truly secure in themselves don't feel threatened by the success of others. They lift others up because they know that greatness isn't limited. There's enough room for everyone to shine. But the ones who constantly try to prove they're better, the ones who subtly belittle you, dismiss your achievements, or make you feel small, they're showing you their insecurity. They need to bring others down just to feel like they're on top. And if you're not careful, their energy can mess with your mind. You start doubting yourself. You start feeling like your accomplishments aren't worth celebrating. You start questioning whether you're good enough. But listen, you don't need to shrink to make someone else feel big. The right people in your life will never make you feel less than. They will encourage your growth, celebrate your success, and remind you that your light doesn't have to dim for anyone else. So if someone around you constantly makes you feel like you have to prove yourself, you don't need them in your life. You ever have someone in your life who only supports you when it's convenient for them? When you're on their level, they're cool with you. When you're struggling, they're right there. But the moment you start growing, improving, leveling up, suddenly their energy shifts, they get distant, they get passive aggressive, they start throwing subtle jabs, making side comments, acting different. And you realize something, they were never really rooting for you. They were comfortable as long as you stayed the same, but the moment you started becoming more, they started feeling some type of way because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your ambition reminds them of what they're not doing. Your success forces them to look in the mirror. And some people would rather stay blind than face their own potential. And that's the thing. Real support isn't conditional. The right people don't just cheer for you when you're struggling. They cheer for you when you're winning. They don't just stand beside you when you're at their level. They celebrate you even when you surpass them. So pay attention to who claps when you win. Pay attention to who encourages your growth and who secretly resents it. Because the people who can't handle your success, the ones who pull away when you start shining, they were never really for you to begin with. You ever notice how some people always bring drama wherever they go? No matter what's happening in their life, there's always some chaos, some argument, some unnecessary tension, and somehow they always manage to drag you into it. One day they're mad at someone, the next day they're caught up in some nonsense that doesn't even concern them. They thrive on conflict, and if you're not careful, they'll pull you into their storm. At first, you might try to help. You might think, maybe if I listen, I can help them find peace. But here's the hard truth. Some people don't want peace. They don't want solutions. They don't want calm. They need chaos because it distracts them from their own problems. And when you allow these people in your life, you start feeling drained. You start carrying stress that isn't even yours. You start getting caught up in negativity that has nothing to do with you, and before you know it, their storm becomes your storm. But listen, you weren't built for unnecessary drama. You weren't put on this earth to waste energy on pointless conflict. You have goals to chase, dreams to build, and a life to live. So if someone in your life is constantly bringing negativity, constantly stirring up trouble, constantly pulling you into their mess, it's time to walk away. Because peace isn't something you find, it's something you protect. And if someone is disturbing your peace, they don't deserve a place in your life. You ever deal with someone who always plays mind games? One day they act like they care, and the next they're distant. One moment they're supportive, and the next they're making you question everything. They never communicate directly. They keep you guessing. These people thrive on control. They want to keep you off balance, keep you doubting, keep you chasing their approval. Because as long as you're uncertain, they hold the power. They know exactly what they're doing, giving just enough attention to keep you around, but never enough to make you feel secure. And let me tell you something, real connections don't feel like confusion. Real love, real friendship, real support doesn't leave you questioning where you stand. It doesn't manipulate. It doesn't create anxiety. And it sure as hell doesn't play with your emotions. But people who play mind games, They don't care about your well-being. They care about control. And the more you entertain it, the more power you give them over your mind, your emotions, and your energy. So if someone in your life keeps you in a cycle of guessing, doubting, and chasing, it's time to break free, because the right people don't make you feel unstable. They make you feel secure. And anyone who plays games with your heart or your mind, they don't deserve a place in your life. You ever notice how some people always bring up your past no matter how much you've grown? You could be making big moves, changing your life, becoming a better version of yourself, but they still see you as the person you used to be. Maybe you made mistakes. Maybe you had a rough chapter in your story. But instead of recognizing your progress, they remind you of who you were, not who you're becoming. They say things like, oh, you think you've changed? I remember when you used to do this. Don't forget where you came from. At first, it might seem harmless, but if you pay attention, you'll realize they're trying to keep you stuck. They're uncomfortable with your growth because it forces them to acknowledge that change is possible. And if you can grow, that means they could too, but they're not willing to put in the work. And here's the truth. You don't live in your past anymore. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your transformation. You don't have to prove to anyone that you've outgrown who you were. Your progress speaks for itself. So if someone in your life keeps dragging you back to a place you've already left, it's time to ask yourself, why are they so invested in my past? And more importantly, do they deserve to be part of my future? Because the people who truly support you will acknowledge your growth, not keep you tied to your history. You ever notice how some people only show up when it benefits them, when they need something? Your time, your help, your resources. They're quick to call. They make you feel important, make it seem like you matter, but the moment you need something, silence, no response. Suddenly they're too busy. These are opportunists. They don't see you as a friend, a partner, or a person. They see you as a resource, a tool to be used when it's convenient for them. They don't invest in you. They don't support you. They just take until there's nothing left. And the worst part, they'll make you feel guilty if you don't give them what they want. They'll act like you're selfish, like you've changed, like you're the problem, just because you stopped letting them take advantage of you. But here's what you need to understand. Real relationships are built on mutual respect, not convenience. The people who truly care about you will be there for you even when they don't need something. They'll check in just to see how you're doing. They'll offer support without expecting anything in return. So ask yourself, who in your life is there for you and who is just there for what you can do for them? Because if someone only values you when they need something, they don't really value you. And you don't need people in your life who treat you like an option when you should be treated with respect. You ever meet someone who just never takes responsibility for anything? No matter what happens, it's always someone else's fault. They blame their parents, their boss, their friends, their past, but never once do they look in the mirror and say, maybe I need to change. At first, you might feel for them. You might think, man, they've really had it rough. But over time, you start to see the pattern. They're always the victim and the world is always against them. And the more time you spend around them, the more you realize their negativity starts rubbing off on you. Because when you surround yourself with people who refuse to take ownership of their lives, you start absorbing their excuses. You start thinking, maybe life is unfair. Maybe I'm stuck too. Maybe I don't have control over my future. But let me tell you something. Winners take responsibility. Leaders take ownership. The people who succeed in life aren't the ones who sit around blaming the world. They're the ones who say, I may not control everything, but I control my effort, my attitude, and my mindset. So if someone in your life is always playing the blame game, always avoiding accountability, always making excuses, it's time to step back. Because if you're not careful, their mindset will become yours. And you weren't built for excuses. You were built for greatness. Surround yourself with people who remind you of that. You ever notice how some people always bring negativity into the conversation? No matter what's going on, no matter how good things are, they always find something to complain about. You tell them some good news, they downplay it. You share a dream, they point out everything that could go wrong. You try to stay positive, they call you naive. These are energy drainers. They don't just carry negativity, they spread it. And if you're around them too much, their negativity starts becoming your negativity. Their doubts start becoming your doubts. Their complaints start making you see the world in a darker way. And here's the thing, your mindset is everything. What you focus on, you attract. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, it's going to cloud your vision, block your motivation, and make even the biggest opportunities feel small. But successful people, they don't have time for constant negativity. They know that mindset is the foundation of everything. They protect their energy, they guard their thoughts, and they make sure they surround themselves with people who uplift, not drain. So ask yourself, who in your life is feeding your energy and who is draining it? Because if someone is constantly filling your space with negativity, doubt, and complaints, they're not just affecting your mood, they're affecting your future. And your future is too important to let negativity hold you back. You ever deal with someone who thrives on gossip? The kind of person who always has something to say about somebody else. They know everybody's business, always talking about who did what, who failed, who's struggling. And at first you might just listen, maybe even laugh along. But then you start wondering, what do they say about me when I'm not around? See, gossipers don't discriminate. If they talk about others to you, they're talking about you to others. And more than that, they create a toxic environment. Because when you're constantly hearing negativity about other people, it starts shaping your mindset. Instead of focusing on growth, success, or purpose, your conversations start revolving around drama, judgment, and pettiness. And that's a problem. Because winners don't waste time tearing others down. They're too busy building themselves up. They don't sit around discussing people. They discuss ideas, opportunities, and solutions. So ask yourself, are the people around you focused on progress, or are they caught up in pointless gossip? Are they speaking life into others, or are they spreading negativity? Because the company you keep shapes your mindset, and if you surround yourself with people who gossip, judge, and criticize, you're feeding energy into a cycle that leads nowhere. But if you choose to be around people who uplift, inspire, and push you forward, that's when you truly start elevating. You ever meet someone who just can't stand to see you happy? Maybe they don't say it outright, but you can feel it. When you're excited about something, they don't match your energy. When you accomplish something, they find a way to downplay it. When you're just feeling good, they throw in little comments to knock you down a notch. These are silent haters. They may act like they support you, but deep down, your happiness makes them uncomfortable. Your success makes them insecure. Your light reminds them of the darkness they refuse to confront within themselves. And here's what you need to understand. Happy people don't resent happiness in others. Secure people don't feel threatened by someone else winning. True friends, true supporters, they don't just tolerate your joy, they celebrate it with you. But the ones who subtly bring you down, the ones who act distant when you're doing well, the ones who can't bring themselves to say, I'm proud of you, that's a sign. Because real connections don't feel like jealousy. They feel like support, love, and mutual respect. So if someone in your life makes you feel like you have to dim your happiness just to keep them comfortable, it's time to rethink their place in your life. Because your joy, your success, your peace, it should never be something you feel the need to hide.